What's up, guys? Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps, Moving the Chains. John, this is year 3 for us. Can you believe that?
It's pretty cool.
Man, we've been doing this for a while now.
It's still fun.
It is. So we're here tonight. We're going to give you a little kind of preview, breakdown, maybe some projections on the 1, 2, and 3A classifications going into this season. I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you, John. I'm so ready for football to get going here.
I tell you what, it's been a nice treat getting a little NFL, a little bit of college football, but still need that high school football.
Yeah,
I've seen a little bit on TV, but it's not the same.
That's right. We're probably, I think 3 or 4 weeks behind what we usually are. I think I would have seen this would have been week 4, I think. Instead, starting Friday night the 25th, teams are playing. We've had some jamborees, a few scrimmages here and there, but, when we get those teams out there on the field Friday night, it's going to be totally different than what they've seen so far this year.
Oh, yeah.
So tonight, guys, what we're going to do, we're going to give you a breakdown of the top 10 in the prep poll that just came out. We're going to read through that, kind of give you our thoughts on some of those teams. Talk about a few of the big prospects in each class. Talk about a few of the classification changes, who went up, who went down in that 1, 2, and 3A thing there, and then also maybe a few of the new coaches if we come across some of that too, John. So I'm going to read through some of our top 10 here in the 1A prep poll. You guys feel free to fire off your comments here in the chat section. Follow us as always on Facebook, Moving the Chains SC, on Twitter at Moving Chains. Tell your friends. Try to get involved with us. It makes the show better when you guys are chatting with us too.
Yeah,
it helps us out a lot. So feel free to get involved. But here we are with the 1A top 10, John. Number 10, McCormick. Number 9, Whale Branch. Number 8, Bamberg Earhart. Number 7, C.E. Murray. Number 6, Wagner Sally. Number 5, Lakeview. Number 4, Southside Christian. Number 3, Ridge Spring Minetta. Number 2, Lamar. And number 1, Green Sea Floyds. Some other teams receiving votes: Blackville Hilda, Louisville, Great Falls, Wilson Elko, East Clarendon, Hannah-Pamphlet, McAbee, Baptist Hill, Branchville, and Carvers Bay. But they are led, of course, by the 2-time, I think, defending state champions, the Green Sea Floyds Trojans. John, first thoughts of the top 10 here in 1A. Give me your thoughts.
The one thing that jumps out at me is Bamberg Earhart. Mm-hmm. We always see Bamberg
dropping
Earhart
down 2A to 1A.
Yeah, we always see them, top 3, top 5 in 2A, and now here they are in 1A, and they're way down at 8. So I don't know how much they've lost. But that's interesting. You expect Bamberg Earhart to be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah, you look in the top 5, you see a lot of the familiar faces. Lakeview's always up there. Lamar always good. Green Sea Floyd's been good for the last few years. Now, interesting to see with Green Sea Floyd's, their coach, left to take that job, I think, at West Ashley. So they got a new guy coming in, Joey Price, a Loris assistant, taking over there, trying to see if he can kind of continue that run there. They had, the Dixon guy at running back last year was great. So they've got a great team there. And then, a team I'm looking at, Southside Christian, John, another team that's been competitive in 2A the past couple of years. I think they lost their quarterback, the Hertzberg kid. I believe they lost the running back, the Pinckney kid, as well.
Yeah, and Pinckney was
they've got some good athletes there. They've had some good seasons. Interesting to see how this drop down kind of works for those guys.
Yeah, and you can tell when you see Southside play, you think, okay, 1A high school, they're probably just throwing the ball all over the place, kicking it around. Southside is a very clean, fundamental football team, so I wouldn't expect them to drop off too much, and the poll reflects that here too.
Yeah, when you look at the first place votes, Green Sea Floyds is first with 7. Lamar got 1. Southside Christian got 1, and Bamberg Earhart also got 1, like you mentioned there, John. So a little bit spread out there, not a unanimous decision for sure. A team we hadn't talked about yet that made some big noise last year, number 6, Wagner Sally.
Yes.
I think they made it to the Final Four. Teams, some guys were picking them to go all the way. The powerhouse kind of ran out there late in the season for them. And then number 3, the runner-ups last year, Ridge Spring Minetta. That was a team we talked about how had a bunch of young kids, were hurt a lot early in the year, kind of got it rolling at the end of the year, had the really good quarterback. The K-Park kid, I believe was his name, came back for them late. Young kid, so he should be back again. That's a team just sitting there at 3, just kind of lying in the weeds, waiting to kind of take over. But it should be a great year in 1A. A lot of disparity as far as, I think, John, there's probably 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7, 8 teams that could win this classification.
Yeah, you can never count out Lamar. Mm-hmm. They're always going to be in the conversation. I think Southside, I think they've got a legitimate claim to make a run. Lakeview's been down a little bit last few years. It'll be interesting to see if they can compete for it. And, I don't see how Bamberg Earhart's not going to have a big say in what happens this year as well. But for me, I don't know. And I've probably done this every year. I can't go against Lamar.
Yeah, the Silver Foxes are always tough. They've been there for the past, 30, 40 years they've been this good. They're always good. Yeah. John, who are some players to watch here in the single A classification?
So there are, went through the rivals ratings, so take that for what you will. In 1A, there's one player that's getting, or at least on the top 15 of this year, or a top 15 junior for next year. And senior this year at Wagner Sally is Elijah Davis. He is rated as a 3-star defensive end. He's a big key, 6'4", 260.
That's pretty good size, yeah.
And right now he's got offers from Kansas, South Carolina, and West Virginia. So he's definitely getting some,
Almost home.
definitely getting a little bit of notice there. So it'd be interesting to see. He'll definitely be a big part of Wagner Sally in their program.
Yeah, it should be a great season. We always say this every year, John, that the 1A is just so wacky with the way it's broken up. Teams that are in the upstate playoff bracket really aren't in the upstate. This year, too, it's going to be a little weird. I don't know how much it's going to affect 1A as far as the number of teams making the playoffs is going to be down a little bit, it looks like, because they're only having a 7-game season. I know that a lot of club classifications are only getting the 1 and 2 seed out of their conference. They're out of their region, So going to be a little bit odd to see how all this stuff shakes out here at the end. But, hopefully we don't see some of these crazy things like a winless team hosting a playoff game in 1A like we've seen before. Hopefully we get some, just a cream of the crop making the playoffs and really get some good matchups starting with that first round.
And I tell you what, one criticism I would give South Carolina high school football in the past is there's a lot of schools that make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And this year, I'm looking Region 5, Lower State 1A. You've got Green Sea Floyds, Lakeview, and Timmonsville.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
one
and
of those
schools
schools
always start fairly solid too. So
yeah, one of those schools is not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
at least one, if not more.
So you're going to have some regular season games, and it gets really cool as we go up in classifications later in the show. There's going to be some regular season games here in Region 5 for sure, and other parts of the state. Regular season games are going to be a de facto playoff game.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have to. If you play a region game week 1, week 2, you can't really afford to lose it. I mean, you're behind the 8 ball the rest of the season. It's so tight, and every game matters so much this year. You got to come out the gates hot, which is going to be odd. With having fewer scrimmages, really, I guess, kind of, fewer contact, drills in the past. That week 1, you may see some really sloppy football.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what to expect.
I mean, look at what we've seen in NFL and college football.
Yeah. As you guys know, I'm sure, fans are going to be a lot smaller number of fans in the stands. I think Greenville high schools are doing something like 12, 13%. I think that's what most schools are doing, kind of under that 15% mark. A lot of tickets being bought online ahead of time and whatnot. So the atmosphere is just not going to be the same. So, you're going to see a lot of, maybe teams with older players who, have some more leadership may be in a good spot there. Teams with good coaches who can really get those guys focused and fired up. But it should be a good season in 1A for sure, John. Well, let's move on to 2A now. I mentioned it, follow us on Twitter, Movin Chains, on Facebook, Movin the Chains SC. Also, we're on YouTube. We post a show every Saturday or Sunday on YouTube. We're on the podcast, anything from Apple to Spotify to Google Podcasts to all the main ones. We've got the podcast up there every week as well. So, also set up your notifications so you'll know Friday nights when we go live. This year, we don't really know how it's going to work out as far as going to games yet. We don't know if we'll be at all of them, and none of them. We're still kind of working through that with some of our connections there. So, we'll see if we make it to many. If we don't, we may have a set time we do a show each week, kind of see how it goes. But so we got to set the notifications so you'll know when we go live. So you don't want to miss any of the action of all of our recaps of the upstate and the statewide scores every week. Looking at bringing you guys some more interviews midweek as well with some new technology stuff we can do with Zoom and whatnot with some coaches. So got some cool stuff coming to you for sure. So tell all your friends and follow us, and we appreciate all the help so far. Let's keep it going. But on to this 2A top 10 poll here. At number 10, we have Andrews. Number 9, Pageland Central. Number 8, Chesney. Number 7, Sherraw. Number 6, Timberland. Number 5, your defending state champions, Saluda. Number 4, Newberry. There's a tie for second at Barnwell and Gray Collegiate. Number 1, Abbeville. The first place votes break down by 5 to Abbeville, 1 to Gray Collegiate, 1 to Barnwell, 2 to Saluda, and 1 to Timberland. John, another classification that kind of shocked people last year with maybe how the championship game went, where Saluda absolutely blew out Barnwell. It was not close.
Yeah.
That was kind of a shocker to me. I was a big Barnwell fan all year. Saluda came out. They knocked off Abbeville earlier in the playoffs. They just came out and just waxed Barnwell. But 2A, John, what are some of your thoughts on that top 10 poll and who you should watch out for this year?
I like seeing Newberry play. They seem to really be able to.
That's a school I think dropped down from 3A to 2A as well. I think this year, John.
Yeah, and Newberry. When I was in high school, I remember Newberry being a big time 3A school. So Newberry getting a little bit smaller. They've also got really cool for Newberry. 11th grader Zach Chalmers. He's a 6'4" wide receiver that has already gotten offers from Kansas, Virginia, and Wake Forest. So that alone will make seeing Newberry worth going to.
And I saw last week, I think, where Newberry beat Barnwell fairly easily in a jamboree. Really? Once again, jamboree, how much do you really count that in? But still, they won the game. That's all I can say. So that was somewhat of a surprise, I guess, there, John. Abbeville has just been lights out the last several years. I know they lost last year to Saluda, but that's a top tier program in 2A. They're always good. Barnwell's been very good the last several years as well with their coach. Grade Collegiate, I think, set some records last year for passing offense with the Hunter Heldens kid that's up at Clemson now there as a preferred walk-on. Those guys slinging around the yard. Saluda, I know they lost a lot. They lost their quarterback, Noah Bell. I think they lost the receiver, the Creech kid. I'm sure they got some talent coming back. Timberland, always good, like you mentioned. And some other schools receiving votes are Marion, Legion Collegiate, Batesburg, Leesville, Andrew Jackson, Mullins, Blacksburg, Latta, and Woodland.
There's some big names there in the others category.
That's right. A lot of Marion County folks in there. The 843 with Marion and Mullins stepping up. John, you talked about the kid that Marion had. Talk to me about that guy that's a commit already, I think, to South Carolina.
Yeah, so that is T.J. Sanders. He's a 3-star defensive tackle, another pretty big kid. He's 6'4", 284, and right now he's committed to go to Columbia to play for the Gamecocks. And
he's one of those guys, too, I watched some highlights. He's not one of the, defensive linemen is just big and, not ripped that just kind of gets in the way. This guy, he's athletic. He is a good athlete, and he's got some potential to be a really big-time player there in Columbia.
Yeah, and being in high school, being 284, once he gets to Columbia, gets in the weight room, gets on the diet program, he may not get to 300, but I bet he can get pretty doggone close.
Yeah.
Being 6'4", that's
big frame there.
That's good size. You can play football there.
John, who would you say maybe your favorites or top 2 favorites are here in this classification?
I think after what Saluda did last year, we got to give them respect. We got to.
They're champs till they get beat, right? That's what they say.
Exactly. And good to see them. Hey, they're 5th, but they got 2 first place votes, well deserved. But I think, gosh, it's probably gonna, and this is a chalk pick, but Abbeville and Barnwell, it's hard to go against either one of those. Being upper state and lower state, so
yeah, you hate to see it for Barnwell. They've lost the championship game 2 years in a row. I know they lost a lot. They lost the quarterback, the Pender kid there, but they've got a good tradition down there that the Warhorses do. So I'm sure they've got some good guys coming in to fill those spots. But should be another fun classification there. John, anything else before we move on to 3A?
I'm excited about 2A's got. You look at the top 10. It's a lot of familiar names, but there's a number of them. And then looking at the others receiving votes. Andrew Jackson was a fun team to follow last year. They had a very good year. Batesburg, Leesville, always a good program. Marion's got one of the arguably the best kid in 3A football. Yeah. So they're worth watching for that alone. So there should be a lot of competitiveness. Maybe Abbeville and Barnwell meet in Columbia at the end of it, but up until then, I think it's going to be pretty good competitive football. Yeah,
it should be great there. On to 3A. By the way, like I told you, we're going live Friday night with the game. If you guys own a business, friends own a business, who want to get involved, maybe sponsor us, throw us some cash to get your name on the show. I've got some great numbers I can show you to back it up. I do want to give a big shout out to one of our sponsors, George Agency. Those guys were with us all last year, Bradley and Richard and the crew there, Mr. Wayne. If you need insurance for yourself or for your business, give those guys a call. The George Agency will take care of you for sure, no matter where you are in the state. They can help you out. On to 3A, John. And this has been probably one of our favorite divisions the last couple years we've been doing this. This classification is always a blast to watch, keep up with. I'll kind of run through here as I get this pulled up. We've actually got a tie at 10th here. One of them a newcomer to the 3A classification. A tie between Strom-Thurmond and Oceanside Collegiate. Oceanside has taken that jump up from 2A. That was a story last year that was fun to follow because that team, they were undefeated and they had the issue where they had to forfeit some games and got bumped down in the playoffs to another spot in the region. ended up getting beat in the playoffs, but that was just a weird story there.
They didn't make me any friends in the process.
No, they certainly didn't. But
From what we've heard.
So Oceanside Collegiate and Strom Thurmond tied for 10th in 3A. Number 9, Union County. Number 8, Brooklyn Casey. Number 7, Belton Honeypath. Number 6, Chester. Number 5, Camden. Number 4, Daniel. Number 3, Chapman. Number 2, Wren. Number 1, Dillon with 7 first-place votes. Last year's defending champion, the Chapman Panthers, lost their coach, John. Mark Hodge goes to Spartanburg. They lose, probably 20 of seniors. Colasardo's gone. They've got a couple players coming back that are, pretty good on the defensive side. Interesting to see, how it's going to, transfer with Hodge leaving. Cabinet's coming in from Malden. Does he run the same offense? Does he kind of change it up? How much of the talent's still there? Did Hodge get a talent at the right time? 3A is just a blast every year, and I think we're in for another great season as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, this is just you reading through the top 6. You could say, the top 6. I mean, out of those 6 schools, Dillon, Wren, Chapman, Daniel, Camden, Chester, I think if you go to any of those 6 programs, all 6 of them could pretty confidently tell you, we think we can get to Columbia.
Yeah.
It's not far-fetched.
Daniel dropping down, that's a big story. They're coming down from 4A to 3A, see how much noise they can make. And then that same thing with Wren, the defending 4A state champ. The Wren Hurricanes dropped down to 3A, are now second in 3A. John, this is something that, I need somebody, if you guys, one of these viewers maybe know this, I need some research done on this. Has a defending state champion ever dropped down a classification the very next year? I need somebody to find this out for me because that is crazy. I know those guys. They lost the quarterback, Owens. They lost I think the Rogers and the Cherry kid are both gone. But if you're a state champ, you've got more than just senior talent there. You've got to have somebody backing up. So that team's ready to play in 3A as well. As always, you've got Dillon. They're always there with 7 first-place votes. Wren gets 2, Camden 2, and then that's it. That's all the votes there. So that's how they kind of broke out. You don't see Chapman getting any, which is kind of an odd surprise there. Defending 3A champs don't get a single vote. Little odd to me there. Some other teams receiving votes. You got Gilbert, Woodruff, Ainer, Wade Hampton, Lake City, and Lower Richland. I think Lower Richland also dropped down from 4 to 3, I believe. So a couple of the big coaching changes there. Like I said, Chapman gets Harry Cavendish from Malden. Their coach goes to Spartanburg, and Oceanside Collegiate also gets Joe Call, the Somerville head coach, to come over. So kind of a weird switch there. But, 3A, like you said, John, you've got at least 6, if not more, teams that can win the whole thing, I think.
Yeah, and it's not they got an outside shot. No, they have a legitimate chance. Camden, I think last 2 years they've been knocked out by Chester. I want to say, or no, they got knocked out by Chapman last year. Chester the year before. Chapman kind of flexed on them a little bit last year, but the year before, Camden had a great team, and they were a play away from making it to the Upper State Championship against Chapman 2 years ago. So they're definitely. Deep in the playoffs is nothing new to them, nor is it Chester. Daniel's coming in. That whole program's going to be confident stepping down a level. Chapman, obviously. And I tell you what, the big thing I'm going to be curious about, these 6 schools, it's going to be no surprise if they make it deep in the playoffs. But my big thing that I'm going to be interested in seeing is how Chapman looks during the season. Because I feel like, seeing them play once or twice each season the last 2 or 3 years, and they just have a mean streak. They are playing to the echo of the whistle. There's some what people would call maybe a cheap shot here and there. They play very tough, and it'll be interesting to see, does that leave with the coaching staff change? Or is that a Chapman thing? I don't know.
And you guys, John, I think we'll both back this up. You guys have watched and noticed this, I'm sure, over the last couple of years, that, we haven't ever been the biggest fan of the coaching job that's been done at Malden. We've had some, maybe some questionable things here and there. So interesting to see how that works with Cabinets going from Malden to Chapman, to see, how he's going to coach his team up and how well they'll do. One thing that sticks out to me, John, is some of the others receiving votes. Gilbert, deep run last year. Wade Hampton gave Dillon their closest game of the year. I think Dillon won by 7, a last-minute score there in the playoffs. Dillon obviously got beat by Chapman, but blew everybody else out. So that'll be interesting, And you see here at number 9, Union County, they actually don't play this week because of a COVID issue with some of the team they're just playing themselves. So they've got to already have one game postponed or canceled. So interesting to see how much of that's going to happen throughout the year, John. Hopefully not much, but I don't know. Who are some of the big guys here in 3A that we need to watch out for as far as going on to the collegiate level, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, there's a ton. Starting with the upstate from BHP, you have Jatius Gear. He is a 6'5", 335-pound defensive end. He's going to Syracuse next year. Seneca's got an 11th grader, E.J. Evett. He's a 5'11", 3-star wide receiver. Already has offers from the Gamecocks and Virginia Tech. So that's very cool. Maybe the best player in 3A is out of Dillon, Amari Huggins-Bruce. He's a 6-foot wide receiver, currently going to Louisville next year. And I tell you what, Louisville, they got beat last Saturday. But if you want to be a really good wide receiver, Louisville's not a bad place to go.
Not at all.
They know talent when they see it at that position. So that's cool to see for Huggins-Bruce.
Yeah, and I was reading where they've got maybe one of the deepest receiving cores in the country. In the state. Dillon does. They've got 3 guys that are really good. To go along with Nemo Squire. Running back's also pretty good for them there. They do have a new quarterback for the first time in a while. They got 2 transfers out of North Carolina. They're kind of trying to figure out who's going to win that job there. So a little bit different story there for the Wildcats, but they still got talent everywhere, it sounds like, and I'm sure they'll be a force again this year.
And for folks down around close to Fox Creek High School, they have an 11th grader down there, Nick Williams. And, the guys on the offensive line never get the love that they deserve, right? Well, Nick Williams, folks, he's a 4-star offensive tackle in the 11th grade right now. He's 6'4", 323 already. I'm not going to read you all of his offers because that would take about 10 minutes. But out of the ACC and SEC, Arkansas has offered him, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia Tech, NC State, Syracuse, and Tennessee. All those schools want this guy, and he's still just in 11th grade. So definitely would be worth going to see him play if you can get down to Fox Creek some point this year or even next year, too, when he's in 12th grade.
Yeah. So lots of great stories in 3A. John, always one of our favorite classifications. Anything else you want to add to that one before we kind of wrap up and send everybody home until tomorrow night?
I tell you what, I think 5A is going to be really cool just for the fluctuations in the regions.
Yeah, we'll kind of get into that
changes
tomorrow night for sure. 5A, like I said, not just the coaching, like you mentioned, the region changes. We see some schools move into regions where they haven't been in quite a while.
Yeah.
See some rivalries are going to kind of die off maybe for a year or two because of this. So a lot of changes in 5A for sure.
They're playing catch up in my book in the entertainment and excitement level to 3A, especially now that we have Daniel and Ren in the mix. We're not just throwing in 2 upstate schools.
Right.
We're throwing in 2 really good programs.
The defending 4A state champion is coming down to 3A to play, and so
it's like the Premier League in soccer. Hey, if you're really good, come to this league.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun. Once again, follow us on Twitter, Movin the Chains, Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. On Facebook, Movin the Chains SC. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use, follow us on there. Tell all your friends, set your notifications up. We're doing this tomorrow night. Thursday, we'll give you the 4A and the 5A kind of top 10 breakdown, previews, predictions. Then Friday night, it's a big night. We're going live after the games, kind of giving you all the scores from the state, upstate, kind of specific. We'll give you some breakdowns. We'll give you the too far to get your butt kicked, give you the teams of the week. We'll also watch out tomorrow morning for our Game of the Week graphic coming out with kind of who we think are some of the bigger games here in the upstate. Check that out as well on Twitter and Facebook. Follow us on all those and tell all your friends. And until tomorrow night, I'm Kevin Thomas, John Epps for Movin the Chains, and we'll see you then.